in a blue state with a potential blue wave that could even upend traditional Republican districts. How are you going to run in November, should you advance and have that option? Context of Trump fatigue, of Democratic voting population.
So two of your premises I disagree with. This blue wave myth has already been demystified. If you look at the generic ballot tests, you'll see that Democrats are not having the sort of empirical data that corresponds with what they're trying to propagate in terms of a blue wave. It's not there. The generic ballot test in this district, 52nd district, Democrats are under 50%. All right, so these hashtags and mythical concepts, again, we're talking about distractions. Regarding President Trump, here's going to be the difference in 2018. The difference from 2016. In 2018, we're going to actually have a scoreboard to talk about. What is the GDP? Is the GDP growing? Are veterans being taken care of better? Is ISIS nearly militarily destroyed?
Right.
Is our military getting strong? Do we have unemployment that's going down? The answer so far to all those things is basically yes. And it's going to be difficult for my opponent to try to argue against what could be working. And then how am I going to win in this district? Well, I'll go back to my answer to you. So number one, this district is about even voter registration. Here's what the strategy of my opponent is going to be. My opponent is going to run against Trump and not the challenger. And what my opponent's strategy is going to be, and the Democratic Party's already sort of signaled this, it's going to be to just run against Trump. And
right.
So what that's going to mean is let's not talk about policies, let's just attack the motives of Republicans, just do name calling. Let's call them racist, let's call them bigots, let's call them reckless, and then we're not talking about policies anymore. We're just igniting emotions. It's going to be hard to make the son of immigrants from Afghanistan who only really grew up with Latinos and African Americans who lived all the failed policies into what they want to, a racist and a bigot. They're going to have a hard time doing that with me.
Right.
Another thing that I'll mention is someone like Scott Peters has actually himself never been subjected to any of the policies he's proposing. He's never seen what it's like to be subjected to the policies that he's proposing. I've lived the failed policies that I'm fighting against. So to tie that up, I'm going to be able to connect with Democrats who are open to having a conversation and independents, because I share their concerns and I share their experiences. And it's country over party is what we all got to think about this cycle.
You're aware that if you were to beat Scott Peters, which in itself would be an upset, notable, national news, your Muslim background would in fact be the lead to almost any story about your race. Just put yourself in the context of having won in November. What are you going to say about how you're going to, in the same way that many Christian candidates say, my Christian faith and background informs my political policy and my attitudes towards how to treat people, how will you say that your Muslim background will inform your service as a congressman?
I think you're absolutely wrong that my religion is going to be a lead in any article or any coverage. People are smarter than that. Number one, I'm American, period. I was born and raised in this country. Number two, I have taken an oath to the Constitution as a service member and an officer in the U.S. Army Reserve. And I have taken an oath to the Constitution as an official of the Department of Defense and having been a prosecutor on terrorism cases. Full stop.
Right. Have you, even though it might be a minor slice of the constituency that you're appealing to, are you ever using your minority kind of status to appeal to, say, other minorities to vote for you despite your Republican affiliation? Because there are too many people who assume that Republicans are a white Christian monolithic party, and are not open to the broad tent that Reagan once tried to throw open.
Put very simply, I want and I will be able to connect with anyone of any party or socioeconomic demographic, because I can talk about our shared experiences and our shared obstacles growing up and what our families face. That's ultimately what it comes down to.